Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Through the last week, it has been snowing in parts of the world where it normally doesn't snow or hasn't snowed in decades. Texas, parts of Mexico, the Mediterranean, Greece, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Israel. Record sub-zero temperatures have caused power outages and power grid breakdowns and lack of water in many of these places, to much despair. The visuals coming from here have been stunning and sad. Now, these are all lower latitudes that normally don't get snow, and the higher latitudes instead, where it's much cooler this time of the year, are facing slightly warmer weather with less snow and more rain this winter season. One of the most common reasons for such cold temperatures and snow in the southern latitudes is the disruption of the polar vortex, a band of winds that keep the Arctic air in the Arctic region. And that is what we're going to talk about today. What the polar vortex is, how it gets disrupted, what happens when it gets disrupted, and is the disruption caused because of human-induced climate change. I'm Sandhya Ramesh and this is Pure Science. The polar vortex is a permanent low-pressure area of about less than 1,000 kilometers in diameter around both poles. Around both poles, the vortices, which move in the circular direction, go around in the eastward direction when viewed from above. And these bands of winds in the low pressure extend high up into the atmosphere above the poles. When this system is strong, when the polar vortex is strong, it spins like a circular band of winds, keeping all the cold air in. When it weakens, it starts to not have a rigidly circular shape, and cold air starts to blast down to lower latitudes, bringing in very cold temperatures and snowfall. The polar vortex itself is not unusual and is an annual occurrence. It's a normal part of the Earth's wind currents, and these low pressure winds are bottled up around the poles by the polar jet stream. Now, what is a jet stream? Jet streams are fast-moving, narrow bands of wind currents. The most important one on Earth is also the strongest one in the Earth's atmospheric system, and that is the polar jet stream. The polar jet stream, this band of wind, flows around the Earth near the polar latitudes at about 10 kilometers of height from the Earth's surface. Planes fly roughly at about this altitude too, at a maximum of 12 kilometers, and they can in fact use the jet stream and hitch a ride on it so that they can fly in a much faster manner, which is why we often find that flights that are going eastward are usually much quicker at these latitudes. The polar vortex, which is a low pressure system, circulates much higher than this jet stream in the atmosphere. It does so anywhere from about a height of 11 to 15 kilometers all the way up to 60 to 80 kilometers from the Earth's surface, and the winds are really strong. They can reach up to 200 kilometers per hour. But this polar jet stream that is circulating much lower in the atmosphere around the Earth is what keeps the polar vortex in place and in check. If the temperatures get warmer, the polar jet stream and the polar vortex both weaken and bring colder air south. In winters, both of them are strong, and the polar jet stream, which moves around like a single band of air, holds the strong polar vortex in at the poles. But the Arctic is warming fast. Both poles are. In this video, we're referring to the northern hemisphere as an example, and the Arctic is warming really fast. This is an effect called the Arctic amplification, where the poles are warming much faster than the rest of the planet. In fact, they are estimated to be warming 4 times as fast as the rest of the planet. Too much warming lowers the temperature difference between the equator or the tropics and the poles, and this results in the polar jet stream weakening. Because the temperature difference that is driving the jet stream goes down, the winds start to meander or flow like waves instead of like a proper rigid circle around the planet. So this brings air from the cold Arctic down. Warming also causes the polar vortex to get messed up in its structure. This is caused by a process that is known as sudden stratospheric warming and is where the upper layers of the atmosphere increase in temperature by almost 30 to 50 degrees Celsius within a matter of just a few days. So when this happens, the polar vortex also starts to weaken when temperatures rise, and this probability goes up as Earth's temperature rises. This increases the chances of sudden stratospheric warming events is what we understand. So then, instead of a circular wind pattern, the polar vortex also starts to become wavy and develops gaps in some places. And a weak polar vortex can be deadly because it brings down terrifyingly cold winds from the north to the southern latitudes, and does so also in the southern hemisphere. Now, the polar vortex is an area of low pressure. We know that low pressure is created when warm air rises up, and basically in areas where there is less dense air. But at the poles, the air is colder and it sinks down. So how does it hold a low pressure system? To understand this, let's once again look at the northern hemisphere and understand how the winds flow from the equatorial regions towards the tropical and subtropical regions and then towards the polar region. The equator by latitude is the warmest part of the planet. Here, warm air rises up about 10 kilometers or so and starts moving to higher latitudes towards the poles. Now, as this air rises up, it becomes colder because air is colder at higher altitudes, and when it comes down at higher latitudes in different parts of the world, it mixes with warmer air when coming down. This air then flows in two directions. One is again northward towards the poles and the other is southward towards the equator. The wind that flows from higher subtropical latitudes to the equator causes the easterlies or trade winds, and the winds that flow towards the northern latitudes are called westerlies. Now, these westerlies, they are formed by winds that have come down from the equator at these latitudes. They then collide with colder blasts of wind coming from the Arctic. Once they collide near the surface, there's no more place for colder air to sink, so once again these winds rise up. As they rise up, once again in these subpolar regions, the winds flow southward in the atmosphere, mixing with warmer air rising up from the equator, but they also flow northward and then fall again at the poles. This creates the polar easterlies as the wind moves south, and this convective process is actually a high pressure system going from about 60 degrees north, the subpolar latitude, to the poles. But in this process of rising up, it does so at the polar regions above the cold wind that are already present there, closer to the surface. So this keeps the warmer winds above the heavy cold winds at the pole, and thus this sustains a lower pressure region higher above in the atmosphere, which is the polar vortex. And now an important question arises, and that is, if these freak winter events caused by the breakdown of the polar vortex are triggered by human-induced or anthropogenic climate change. There's a bit of nuance here, and this is a subject of debate within the climate community. To be clear, no scientist is denying that the Earth is warming at an alarming rate and other extreme weather events are being caused as a direct result of anthropogenic global warming. We are sure that extreme temperature events like intense rainfall and drought are definitely directly the result of global warming, but we aren't yet sure when it comes to disruptions in the polar vortex. We don't know if sudden stratospheric warming events are directly caused as a result of anthropogenic climate warming. We have data only for the past 50 years or so for polar vortices, and extrapolating from this data, some scientists have concluded that there isn't enough evidence just yet that shows that sudden stratospheric warming events are exacerbated by global warming. So it's very difficult to narrow down the cause of a single extreme event like the snowstorm in Texas to directly climate change. And this is because from existing data, breakdowns in polar vortices do happen naturally as well. The correct question here to ask is whether the frequency of these extreme events is starting to go up because of climate change, and if the intensity of these events are going up as well. To answer that, we don't yet have robust enough data. However, we do know that the polar vortex depends on the extent and quantity of sea ice, which is steadily reducing at alarming levels. And data from just the past few recent years seem to suggest that polar vortex breakdowns are occurring a little bit more frequently than normal. So the only way we will know conclusively for sure is in the future, as more and more data is gathered over the next few years.